This is JPTV3000. I'm here in Home of Economy. Today we're going to be looking at some different kinds of boots. You got your ankles, you got your high calves, we got some of the different kinds for the kids, men and women. We're in Home of Economy. But right now we're going to kind of come forward, and we'll check out some of the different boots that we can. We have more of the polished leather, which are these lace ups. I don't mind lace ups, but if you need to get boots on pretty quickly or off pretty quickly, lace ups aren't really going to get you there the way you want to be. But Home of Economy does have quite a few different versions and kinds that you can look at and that you can see. And as we keep coming this way, you can kind of look at, you don't really see a lot of these right here in the oil field. You know, I've seen very few people wear these, but all of the rest of the leather are waterproof. When it comes to Justin boots, Durangos, Georges, King, you'll see some of everybody with these particular kinds of boots. We'll come on down this way, and when it comes to boots, you want boots that are going to be waterproof, steel toe, chemical resistant. If they're not chemical resistant, if they're not waterproof, please get you some waterproof boots. What? Just if they ain't waterproof, really don't mess with them. That's my personal opinion. Uh, Durango has some different styles for you. They got the alligator type skin there, right there, and you can always come to Home of Economy. Find your different kinds of boots, and they have a wide selection. Also, we're also going to go over here and we're going to look at some of your muck boots, which are mainly what I wear during the wintertime because they breathe good enough, and muck boots come up high enough. And also, when it comes to gloves, me personally, I like the Wells Lamont working home gloves, and I like these because they're puncture resistant. So, like when I'm working on iron, 2 inch, 3 inch, or 4 inch, sometimes those pieces of iron, those wings on there, they'll get burrs, metal burrs, and you can puncture your hand, cut yourself. And these work really well, and they keep chemicals off your hand. And me personally, that's just my preference. I like these gloves over impact because they're thick enough to where you can hit something or you can bump your hand in it and it not hurt you. But when it comes to some of these other gloves, the the full leathers, they're all right, but they may irritate your hand. It just depends on the person. And Home of Economy, they have a wide selection of different kinds of impact gloves. We'll come down here. I'll show you a few more. They have your gardening type of gloves that people would use. Your welding gloves. Welding gloves are also good to use in the oil field also. And when it comes to the impact gloves themselves, personally, I like these, these right here. I'm not a big fan of these because of how thin they are and they don't give you a full amount of hand coverage. And we use these right here at work because they cover your hand and they also give you a good amount of dexterity. So that works out. And they have your normal winter gloves. So, you're going outside to go do some things, non-oil field. Because as far as the oil field goes, they got to be FR, so they got to be fire resistant. Um, fire resistant, impact. If you can get some waterproof gloves, that's really what you want. So if you're working outside, some salt water gets spilled or something, you can reach your hand off in there, and you can also be able to work with that with your hands being in some cold liquid when it's minus 20, minus 30. And we're gonna wrap that up because that's pretty much the main thing. Oh yeah. One more thing. Let me show y'all this right here. These are these are the winter version of those blue gloves. And you see the insulation? Me personally, I will spend my own money for these. Even though they're really big for whatever size that you get, they really work handy because you have that vapor barrier. So it just depends on the person. But me personally, I will be wearing these. I will be wearing these or my Impact waterproof because when you're working in the oil field and you're working around chemicals, liquids, salt water, whatever it may be, you know, hey, this is the industry that we work in. A wide variety of socks. Personally, I like cotton, but you may want to have wool for the wintertime. It's just a matter of what you choose and what your preference is. And I also will most definitely use long, high ankle church socks because church socks tend to not ride up and they tend to not come off as easily versus some socks. You put them suckers on, you go to put your boots on, take your boots off, your sock, and these socks come right off with it. But keep that in mind. Those are some options that they have for you. And as you can obviously see, they have socks here and they have socks all the way down there to the end. And also another thing to look at is when you want to purchase your winter underwear, as far as your tops and your bottoms. Home of Economy, they have quite a few, and you can see the prices. These are $24.99, so that's about $25. Carhartt makes a great brand that I use personally. I like the Carhartt brand. I don't see them up here, but I'm pretty sure they have them around in the store. And if we get to them again, then I'll let you see those. But right now, we're going to talk about the Baffins. Y'all have heard about these boots. That's what these right here are. Me personally, this is overkill. This is too much for me. But I've seen quite a few people wear these. Baffins have a liner. Yeah, I should have picked them up before. Baffins have a liner in them, so they're not just waterproof, but they're waterproof, chemical proof, or I'll say chemical resistant, and they have a liner in them. And this is for derrick, work over rig, where you're going to be either on ice or you're going to be somewhere where you're not going to have a chance to warm your feet up. Now, as we come down here, we're talking about some more versions of the Baffin brand. We have those. We have these. I'm not a fan of these because I don't like this. I don't like this edge that it has on, because this can cut into your leg and kind of like, let's say if you're one of the type of people that you wear your pants down over your boots, this will wear into your leg. But if you wear your pants inside your boots, that will keep that from irritating you. And I do have a pair of boots that it irritated me to where I had a sore because I think one day my socks kept on coming down. And so as my socks kept coming down and I was working, I didn't have a chance to where, I could pull them back up every time, and it just wore sore. And I still have that scar in my leg. But these are just some of the options. Home of Economy has plenty of Baffins if you need them. And these are the boots that I wear. I wear two different kinds. I wear some Walmart Survivors, and I wear these. Now, personally, I like these boots. I like the overall make, the design of them, and they last pretty good. The only two things that I do not like is these straps. After so long, one of these straps will break off. And the only other thing about these boots, because they are waterproof and they're all steel toe, waterproof and steel toe, and they're also chemical resistant, and that's really good for oil field and composite toe. This really comes in handy when it's minus 30. This inside, after you've had it for about a good 2 or 3 months, the inside of these boots, this liner will kind of want to come out, or it'll want to almost like go in when you're trying to put your foot in. Other than that, that's the only two things that I've got about these boots. It will kind of change color if you don't take care of this and keep it oil and put that it makes some stuff that you put on them. So this is my personal brand, and they're $159, which with your company's discount or whatever, that's probably gonna knock it down about $120. So that's a pretty good deal. And waterproof, steel toe, chemical resistant, and I like the liner. So they're pretty good for minus 10, at least that. But once you get into minus 40, these you probably, it depends. If you wear the right socks, you can probably get away with these.
Yeah, so yeah, man, I came out here in 2015 One of the best moves I ever made. The best moves I ever made. Changed my whole life. Changed my whole way of thinking. And the crazy thing about North Dakota is it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of nowhere. So with that being said, what I'm trying to say is you have a lot of spare time to think, to grow. You get away from your family, you get away from your friends. So basically, it's just you and work that surrounds you. That's all. So basically, it's just work that surrounds you and just give you a lot of time to think, process, sit back, understand yourself, figure yourself out, plan ahead, visualize, think about your next move. That's the sweet spot about North Dakota, because you're saving money, you're making money that you never made before, that you'll probably never make nowhere else in America, and you just getting your thoughts together with the money. So, with that being said, you basically building a plan to execute. It don't get any better. And you don't have no distractions. The only distraction that you'll have is the winter. But you get used to that. You become a native. This is the best opportunity someone can have. It almost like that sense of if you don't have the set of eyes to see the diamond in a stack of hay, you'll miss the opportunity. Because a lot of people come here and they see the countryside, nothing to do. Oh, where's the mall? Oh, there's no shopping. But if you look at it from that perspective, you miss the whole picture. You know, you know
Go ahead.
this is an opportunity. So, I advise anyone to come up here and cash in this opportunity. It don't come along too often. The oil field has its ups and its downs. You know, from the price of oil, that that reflects off of the elections, and when the price is up, you come out here, you take advantage. So I advise anyone to come out here. If you want to come out here now, you think you can battle the winter, come on, bring it on. It's plenty of opportunities. But a lot of people come in the spring. They wait till the winter leave and they come in the spring, and then they execute. So yeah, I advise anyone to come take advantage of this opportunity. It's a game changer. I've been out here 5 years, and like I said, it's the best decision I ever made. Made some decent money, met some good people, met some bad people, but overall, it balanced out. You just, you got to know how to maneuver through this. So yeah, come on out, check it out, guys. I promise you won't regret it.
All right.
Man, we just left one of my buddies' friends, and he was at the shop getting his truck fixed. Oh man, I'm just so pumped. Like, I just love that push, man, that motivation that people give you. This guy, he's no more than 28, 29. Got his own semi up here. Say he's been hauling sand since April, and here it is September, and he's headed down to Wyoming to haul more sand. And he hasn't started a truck, so I know he probably ain't put no more than 15,000 in. And I know he got that back the first 3 weeks, and he just making money now, man. He can afford to pay the mechanic 120 an hour to work on this semi, man. I just love it, man. It's just motivation. That's why I be on to my partner Jerry about going to get that truck, start talking about it, because it's time. It's time to go. It's time to take over, man. It's just, oh man, just to see your people do good, man. I almost bring a tear out my eye, man. I love it. I love it.
Like you were saying, some of the things that you've seen since you've been up here in North Dakota.
I've seen a lot. A lot of life changing things. Uh, I think this was probably one of the best moves I ever made in my life. As far as opportunity wise, anyway. For me personally, And I came up and, met my wife, got married here, started a family here, had two beautiful boys, two beautiful twins, and kind of got my life going in a direction that I kind of envisioned before I even came up here. But the pieces to the puzzle kind of connected up here, and it's just a game changer for everyone. I met so many people from different places in North Dakota. Never in a million years thought I'd be in North Dakota, and I know a lot of people think the same. This gentleman behind the camera, he's from Mississippi. Play too much, man.
Hey, I'm lying, man. You said that too, man. I ain't never thought I'd be up here. Never in my life.
At all. Go get a spatula chip. To the bad boy.
Now, what were you saying? And since we out here, you might as well give everybody some of your professional grilling skills right there. Let me see some of that.
Okay, we got some big boy steaks going on right here.
Them ain't just big boy steaks. Them are. That's some doing good in life steaks.
I didn't say that. Well, we just do a little something, Not trying to brag, trying to stay as humble as possible. I did not realize I was over there for. But I did not realize I was over there for. She was down a little bit. But
As we were saying before, and you came in from Georgia, you never would have thought in a million years that you would have been in North Dakota.
walking a million years, man. When you're young, I say this a lot. When you're in school, you might be looking at the map in geography class or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're looking at all the different states. And, you always look at the one that you're from first.
Uh-huh.
And then you take a look at the rest. But I never seen myself in North Dakota. And, man, what a game changer. And, the best thing about it, you meet so many wonderful people here. So many. Like I was saying, this gentleman behind the camera is from Mississippi. Never been to Mississippi. I always thought about going, but, didn't even have to go to meet such wonderful people. North Dakota, man, it's just a game changer. I can't stress it enough.
What's some advice? Well, you know what? Instead of going there, what's a perspective you think some people from Georgia view Georgia as far as they're used to it. That's their routine. That's what they know versus the challenge and just kind of taking that risk to come up here.
That risk, it always comes with that reward. And a lot of people, they be so scared to take a risk. And, I remember, making up my mind saying, hey, I'm going to take this big step. It's all in or nothing. And, I said I was going to come up and be with my girlfriend at the time and change, my whole direction of life. And, I had like a little package deal where I was going to come be with my girlfriend and, try something new, and she was constantly on me about coming up here. And, I really didn't even have to think twice about it because, you get to that point in life where your normal surroundings, it's just not working for you anymore. So, I encourage anyone to make that leap, make that jump, because that's one thing about it. You always know what home is, no matter what. You can always go back home if all else fails. You know, you can always go back to a mom house if all else fails.
You know you don't want to.
Right.
What do you do with it if it come down to?
Right. So my whole thing was to take that jump. Hey, let's do it. You know, if I fail, I learn. You know, I can write another plan and go back at it again. And I remember, you know, I remember talking about coming to North Dakota, and everybody thought I was crazy. You going way up there in the cold that far? What's in North Dakota? Hell, I don't know, but I'm going to see. You know, and
I hate to interrupt you, but even when you say North Dakota, as a, you know, you kind of what?
right,
Like of all the places, like what?
right, you know, it just, man, you got to take that leap, man. I can't stress it enough. I cannot stress it enough. I hear so many people complain and talk about they want change, but they never change their demographics. You know, they do the same thing in their 24 hours and complain. You know, and
expect a different
and
result.
expect a different result. No, it's not going to work. You're going to have to change, get out your comfort zone to find that purpose. You know, you're going to have to move around, clear your mind, isolate yourself, and let the man above work on you. And, you know, you work on yourself through that. And, man, it's just been wonderful, man. I remember my mom looking at me crazy when I said I was going to North Dakota. I remember the day I was leaving for North Dakota, and I had my suitcase packed, and it was sitting at the door, and I walked in the living room, and I said, "Well, I'm about to leave, y'all." And they looked at me, you know, startled, didn't make a sound, didn't comment. I was like, "Wow, they're not taking this well." And I remember my cousin. He called me and said, "Hey, I'm outside." And I remember that feeling of, this is really it. And I told my people that was sitting on the couch, "Hey, my cousin outside. I'm about to go." And I remember my mom say, "Is you for real?" Like, "Yeah, I'm about to go. I can't do it around here anymore. It's time to spread my wings and fly." And I'll never forget the tears, you know, from seeing her only son, you know, about to depart from Georgia, you know, and, you know, it's been 5 years later, and now I can look back on it and say, those are tears of joy, because, man, these have been, these have been some great 5 years. And even to the day she tell me, "I'm so glad you left," you know. So, you know, it was all worth it. It was all worth it. I don't think I'd be where I'm at in life now if I wouldn't have took that chance, jumped off the porch, and went and ventured out, see what the world had in store for me. And I can't stress it enough. You guys, you have to try something different to get different results. You just have to. You know, you just can't sit there and bicker and complain and whine and cry. Like, you just can't. You have to go. You just have to. You have to change. You have to do something different.
The next year's kind of going to be tough. I do believe it's going to be another, I wouldn't say bust, but right now everybody's in the fourth quarter, and they're kind of waiting for their budget for next year. But every year there's an election year, it slows down too. Waiting to see who's going to be the new president. So I think it's going to be a slow 2020 until we see who gets elected or re-elected. And that's going to depend on, you know, how the oil field works. Every election year it does that. I don't think we're going to see a bust like we did end of 14 and 15, but we're going to see a slowdown. That's my prediction. I could be very wrong about that. Save. Don't be one of these idiots that goes out and buys new trucks and new toys, and don't do that. I mean, yeah, if you're making enough money and you can make it work, get something nice, but always make sure you can plan for at least 6 months to a year of not working. It happened to me. I lost a really nice pickup, really nice four-wheeler in 2015. And you know, them are just things. So I kept the roof over my head, and that was the main thing. You know, 2015, this is just from my experience, I went from grossing 225,000 in 2014 to probably 50,000 getting laid off. Well, you're looking out over Williston. If you look way over there, when I broke out in 2006 on that hill, there was nothing out there. None of that. Halliburton was down here below. Grain elevators were there. None of that was out on that hill. Williston is, I'd say, triple in size, if not quadruple, since I broke out in 06. It's amazing how far this town has come. They still got to go a long way. They've got the infrastructure starting to get built up. And, you know, I look over this town, another town that has really, all these towns have really grown out here. Watford City has blown up. I remember where there wasn't even a cash line in Watford City. Some of the truck stops out on 85 weren't there. The Buffalo, I watched it get built. Stuff like that. Patriot Fuels, watched it get built. Just an example of when it was booming in 12 and 13. It took me 2 hours to get to Walmart from Watford City in Williston. And 1 hour of that was getting through Williston because the infrastructure wasn't there. Now it ain't quite as bad. So that's the boom and bust of the oil field.
I came up to North Dakota, or out to North Dakota in 2006. Then I was living in a small town in Montana called Choteau. I live in Butte, Montana now, the richest hill on earth. But I got a good friend of mine. He was a driller on a drilling rig, and he needed a floor hand. So I went out, never seen a rig before in my life, never been really around the oil field, and broke out on an old Kelly baby triple. A Kelly rig uses a rotary table to turn the drill pipe down hole. Now a lot of the rigs are what they call top drives, but we threw chain, threw tongs, a lot of the old school stuff you hear about. It was a good way to break out. I've been in the Williston Basin since '06, so I've drilled all over this basin and worked all over this basin since then. Technology's come a long, long ways. It used to take us, say, 20 days to drill a well. Now it's taken them 10. It's a lot better technology. That's the main thing, is the technology. It's come leaps and bounds since I first started. My best advice is keep your feet warm, keep your hands warm. Buy good clothes. I know they're pricey, but if you get the right stuff, you'll stay warm. I mean, once it gets to that 20 below mark, it's just cold. And there's not much you can do about it, but if you got the right clothes, you can layer up and have what you need. Right boots, that's crucial. I wasn't there, but I heard about a guy, or this gentleman, that used a garbage bag so he could get acclimated to the cold. And I do believe what I was told, that that's all he had on, besides his regular clothes. I would not suggest that, because I didn't think it would work, but I always dress for it. So I've been up here long enough. I've been in where it's been 50 below with a 50-mile-an-hour wind, and I was up at the board on the drilling rig. It was fucking cold. And, when I came down, I was an icicle from here down, from the snot sickles. But we get through it. It's not for everybody. It is definitely the oil field. It is a newer, softer oil field, but you still have to have some grit and be able to work. It's hard, dirty, nasty work for the most part in any part of it that you go to. I mean, that's the main thing. I watch guys come and go all the time. And if you can't hack it, get the hell out of it. But once it gets in your blood, there's no getting it out. Listen. That's a big thing. Listen to them guys that have experience. They'll teach you a lot. If you do see something is messed up, ask. Because you're a new set eyes on something. But I wouldn't say it's back to the old school way, but there's a reason they do something a certain way. And that's oil field in general, whether it's on a drilling rig, coil tubing, wire line. Them are just a few of the jobs I've done. Frac. I've ran the gamut. But listen to them guys with experience, they'll teach you something. the main thing I take away is, and I hate to say it, but as a family, it is a brotherhood out here. And you get to meet a lot of good people, and the oil patch is so small. I've ran into people, I've worked here in North Dakota, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, over in that area. I've been in Wyoming. God, where else? All over the place. But in my travels, I've ran into some guys that I worked with, say, 2-3 years before that. And it's like we never even were separated. I mean, I still talk to some of the guys I broke out with. And we are family. You spend more time out here with these guys than you do your real family, if you want to put it that way. And you get a tight bond. The camaraderie, you can't beat it. I've been in the Army. It 10 times more taking care of your brother in the oil field than in the Army, I do believe. That's the one thing I'll probably miss the most, is the people. I won't miss cold. I won't miss, there is a lot of political bullshit. I won't miss that at all. But the guys you work with, once you get on a good crew and you click with them guys, you're brothers or sisters. I still talk to people that I worked with on and off through the oil field. And it's a bond that you'll never break. So they, like I said earlier, once it's in your blood, it's hard to get it out. So that's one thing I'm going to miss. You can't find that anywhere else. That's the biggest thing I'll miss. You know, I'm going through a rough time with my family. That's why I'm quitting the oil field. I need to be home for my family. And that's another suggestion I can give to somebody. You better be willing to miss a lot of stuff. Birthdays, Christmas, all the holidays. You know, important days. But that's where that brotherhood comes in. They've always got your back. So, hey to my family, hey to all my brothers out here and all over the country that I've worked with. That's about it.
This is Roosevelt East Apartments. This is where I've lived for the last 2 years when I'm out in Williston. Pretty good place to live. Quiet neighbors. We split the rent between me and my roommate. It's $1,050 a month. Give you an idea on what apartments run, and go up from there probably. Yeah, my last day here, I'm packing up all my stuff and saying adios to Williston. You know, again, you know, this is the oil field. I was the oil field. Roughneck, wireline hand, fracker, coil tubing operator, truck driver, equipment operator, all that out here. Once it gets, you know, my driller, just to put a perspective on it, my driller told me when I first started, give me 6 months. You'll either love it or hate it. Well, it got in my blood. and I do love the oil field. It's a different breed of people. It's hard to leave it. I mean, I left once for a year and a half, but I had to come right back to it. Is this my last time in the oil field? I hope so, but you never know. I could be back. If you've never drove a truck before, I would suggest, if you know anybody, first of all, go out with them in a truck. See if you like it or not. If you don't have any kind of experience, I was fortunate enough. I was driving grain truck when I was 10 years old. I grew up on a farm. In my 40s, late 40s now. So I've been doing this for 30 years. One of the main things, what I would suggest if you got the money or something, go to school. A lot of these companies out here will send you to school to be a truck driver. Pay attention. There's a lot they're going to teach you in that school, but there's a lot more you need to learn. Always keep your eyes open. Looking back, looking a long ways ahead. If you get the chance, look a mile ahead. You never know what's going to happen in front of you. Make sure you learn how to drive a standard. These idiots that are just steering wheel holders that are driving automatics, they're not truck drivers. I think truck driving's a dying breed. It used to be a badge of, if you were a truck driver, you were somebody. Now a lot of these over-the-road drivers are just steering wheel holders. All they can do is go down the highway. Learn to back. I can't express that enough. You're going to get, if you go over the road or in the oil field, you're going to have to back into some tight spots. And that's another good thing to really get up on. Be safe. Always leave you plenty of distance. And always be paying attention to what's around you. Always be looking in your mirrors. And there's a lot of stuff we can't see in these trucks and people don't realize it. There's a lot of blind spots on these trucks to where you need to be safe. I'm not the best truck driver in the world, but I got quite a bit of experience and I've had my incidents. So no one's immune from, something happening to them. So that would be my best advice, is always pay attention. If you can't get with somebody and learn to drive a truck, go to a school.
Now, Chad, when it comes to what's some stuff to check as far as inside the cab and
when you first fire it up, check all your gauges. Make sure everything looks right. Your temperature, well, here in North Dakota, it takes a while this time of the year to get your temperature up. Watch your oil pressure, your voltage on your batteries, your air. Here again, it takes a little while to build up air.
And since you talk about that, can you give people some examples of what will happen with your air system in the wintertime?
It freezes up. Then you end up pouring. Some people use alcohol, some people use methanol, some people use air brake. special air brake stuff. It all works for the most part. When it gets down to 40 below, you're going to have problems no matter what. The main thing is if your tractor's running, never, ever, ever set your trailer brakes. Set your tractor, don't set your trailer brakes. Let them have a constant feed of air. Keep an eye on your fuel. You know, if you are idling it, you don't want to run out of fuel. That's a big no-no. Some of these trucks are a pain in the ass to get primed back up. What else do you need to watch for? Summer, overheating. That's a common thing. But I'm trying to think of what else to do in here. Get yourself familiar with your controls. Each truck is different. Find out where your Jake brake is, where all your lights are at. Up here in the oil field, you're going to lock in your differentials quite a bit. Lock them up. Another thing in the winter in North Dakota, have someone teach you how to throw chains on your truck. There are too many of these idiots out here that don't know how to throw chains on their trucks. One of my other jobs, plowing snow in Montana. I worked I think it's one of the worst passes in Montana. It's not all that bad. It's Rogers Pass. There's another one that spurs off that called Fletcher's Pass. I had 2 trucks jackknifed together going up Rogers Pass. Neither one of them truck drivers knew how to throw on chains. I had to throw on chains for them truck drivers just so I could get the road plowed. I was not a happy camper. They didn't even know what chains were. They were hanging right on the side of their truck. They didn't know what they were used for. If you don't have to drive in that shit, don't drive in that shit. Don't go over them passes if it's, it's snowing and icy over them passes. If you're not dead set on a time schedule, which most truck drivers are, but if you can spend 6 hours sitting, getting your reset, or eight hours reset and getting your reset on your logs, wait until them snow plows get out. Gonna point out one thing. Give them plows room. Do not pass a plow unless he pulls all the way over and lets you by. Because if you get up next to him and he hits a drift, you ain't going to be able to see shit. He ain't going to be able to see you. I mean, I hated that. There's my safety on plows. Give them room. And if you get too close behind him, you know what that plow driver's going to do? He's going to turn on his sand just to get you off his ass. Because we don't want you running into the back of us. Number one thing that happens to plow trucks, they get ass-ended because people can't see them. Now they've got a lot more lights and everything on them, but still, if it's a blizzard, you ain't going to be able to see them plowed in front of you, so stop. Don't stop in the middle of the road, but if it's bad out, don't drive. Just my opinion from being out there on them roads plowing snow. It's bad enough that we can't see when we're plowing. You can't see either. We need to get the road cleared for you. Okay, let's go outside and I'll kind of run through a pre-trip with you, what I check. There again, when I was working for the state of Montana, they have a pre-trip that's goes way beyond what most people do to trucks. So we'll go do that. Okay, when you're looking at a truck, one thing I always do right off the bat is look on the ground. You got to look for spills. You know, if you got any drips or anything, look at all your, make a good glance over everything. And, you know, anywhere you see a hose or anything like that, see if there's any drips on it. You know, that's just, I guess to me, it's common sense. Each truck's going to be different where you're going to find the dipstick. Always check your oil. Looks good. Then just kind of look at your fluid levels. You know, there again, every truck's going to be different. This is your power steering. Look at all your hose clamps. Everything looks good. Get in here, grab your belts. See if they look good. Look for cracks, weathering, tears. Look at your fans. See if there's any chips in your fan blades. Everything. When you look at everything, look for wires that might be hanging. You know, might be disconnected. It's just, I've done this for so long, it just comes second nature when I'm looking at the truck to look at all that. If you have to do your DOT test, this is the one thing I missed. Check your windshield wipers. That was one thing I missed. Didn't even think about it. Look at your springs down here. See if there's any cracks or anything like that. Your shocks. Your steering. See if they've been greased recently. I've seen out here, it's pretty common to crack a leaf spring. So that's kind of really important. The inside of your tires, look for anything in the rim that might be cracked or anything like that. Brake canisters, check them out. One thing I like about these tires with this company I'm working for now, they put these on there. You can see if your lug nuts are moving. Your gear or your hub, make sure there's plenty of oil on that. That gets overlooked a lot. Pressure is very important. Very, very important. Some companies tell you what to put in it. If they don't tell you, it's right on the tire. Right there. Boom. It might not be as handy as that is right there, but it's on there. I went to the shop where I work, did a pre-trip on my truck, checked everything out. Then we hit the road, going down the road, 1804 out of Williston there. Had quite a few people, pickups following me way too close. And then all of a sudden, I see red and blues coming behind me. And if anyone's familiar with North Dakota, 1804 is narrow. There ain't hardly any place to pull over. Probably took me a mile to find a good spot to get pulled over. And let that police pickup go by. You know, one thing out here driving, you always got to be aware. Especially people that tailgate you, they're hurrying up trying to get to location. and they are going to ride your ass. Some guys, I was following another truck. He was killing me. Had to drop gears because I get too close to him. And I don't like dropping gears when I get a run for the next hill. But, that's all part of trucking. Always be aware what's going on around you. It was night or morning, I should say. So driving in the dark. These trucks we have, headlights suck. If you get a truck and it's your own, I suggest putting, what are them, LED headlights in them. I've drove one with it in it, and it lights up the whole countryside. Just some ideas there. But always be aware. Always be aware of what's going on around you. If you're in a convoy, make sure you got good communication between all of you. We use radios. I've had to use, I'm not saying do it, but I got all hands free, either headset or Bluetooth to something. I want to touch on another subject. The way I was taught to shift was the only time you touch your clutch is for starting and stopping, basically. I don't know whether it's a good thing or bad thing. I use my Jake brake on the lowest setting, and it helps me go through the gears faster. It drops my RPMs when I'm upshifting. Downshifting, you probably want to shut it off until you get comfortable with it. But I've seen guys that do the double clutch thing. I think that's harder on your tractor. It's hard on your clutch. It's hard on your transmission. Like I said, I was taught in these big trucks like this, don't touch your clutch. That's the way I do it. I use the Jake to help. And that's just a personal preference. Sometimes I don't. It just depends on the truck I'm in. If it's shifts good, I probably don't need to do it. But if it's an older truck, you might need to do it. It's just, you need to find a technique for yourself. And every truck you get, even if it's the same engine, same transmission, same ass truck, make, model, whatever, as the one you were just in, that truck's going to ship different than the one you were just in. Because it might have more miles or whatever on it, or it might be newer, might shift easier, or somebody's ground the gears so much where it'll just slide into gears. So that'd be my suggestion. A few little things I use, like I said, I use a Jake. I don't use the clutch a whole lot unless I absolutely have to. So them are my suggestions about shifting. And one other subject I wanted to touch on, be prepared when you go to location. If you're going out for a day and you absolutely know it's going to be a day job, I still pack for 2. You never know when you might get stuck out there. Maybe your truck breaks down and you might not have heat. Always have a coat. I always carry my muck boots with me. They're handy. And then another pair of the boots I got on. Always have a cooler full of snacks. You really can't see what I got in there, but I can last 2 days on what I got in there. I won't even come close to touching that shit, but all of it. But I have been stuck out on location before when I was roughnecking. We were stuck out there for 2 days because relief couldn't get in and it snowed so hard. Always be prepared. Warm clothes in the winter, lots and lots of water in the summer. I'm dehydrated, heat stroked out myself, so me and heat don't get along. But especially up here in North Dakota, I can't say it enough. In the winter, it sucks. I mean, it's no bullshit. It gets down to that 40 below, 50 below mark. Sometimes 70 below, 80 below with wind chill. It sucks. I'm glad I'm getting out of it. That's one of the things I'm not going to miss at all. But I was dumb enough to keep coming back out here. So that's the main thing up here. I suppose I've never worked down in Texas. Them guys say it gets 100 and some odd degrees, 120, 130. Drink a lot of water, a lot of Gatorade. Have all that kind of stuff with you. I always carry my backpack with me. It has extra gloves, all my phone chargers, stuff like that with you. And again, always prepare. If you know you're going for a week, pack for 2. I mean, double everything. That's just the way the oil field is. Some people don't like the way I do it because I always carry too much stuff. But it's come in handy.
Well, I started out carpet cleaning for 23 years, and carpet cleaning went down in 2008. So I went to teaching in a prison, teaching carpet cleaning and janitorial. And in 2010, the prison had a big layoff, so I lost my job there. And while I was getting unemployment paid for me to go to truck driving school and get a CDL. So I decided to give it a try out in the oil field. So I made a big change. When I got laid off, I was in Texas, and I moved from Austin, Texas area to North Idaho, and then I went to school in Spokane, Washington, and got my CDL. It took 5 weeks to get the CDL. It was about $4,000 to do that. And then once I got the CDL, then I was preparing to come to North Dakota to work, and I got a wrong phone call. Someone called me from southern Idaho and had heard that I was a really good truck driver and they wanted to hire me, but it was a wrong number. And they didn't discover that until after they hired me. So I got hired on, and I was wondering how they knew how great of a truck driver I was when I had 4 hours of truck driving experience. But regardless, it got me on, and I came to Williston and went to work for a company out there, and that company only lasted about a year, and then they went under. The truck driving company, they had 4 Peterbilts. So I started driving, and I was in September of 2011 that I started driving in Williston, and that was kind of the Wild West days where so we'd sit, and there'd be no work for 5 days, and then when the call would come, then we would be running nonstop around the clock, and we'd run and run and run until we couldn't run anymore. That was kind of crazy to get started with that. Going to truck driving school, they didn't do any of that. And I came out to Williston, and that was a whole different ball game. It was like the Wild West. So I'd run, and it's kind of a test of your endurance to see how long you can go. So longest I ran was 5 days straight, 1 hour sleep. That was nuts. So after doing that, I said, okay, I've proved myself. I'm not ever going to do that again. So I worked for them for 3.5 years, and I did just about everything with the water truck. I was driving a vac truck hauling water. So I would be hauling fresh water in for the fracs. When I first started, the fracs were all running beside the big, huge swimming pool Poseidon tanks. So we'd haul water in for that. So on a frac, they take frac means fracturing, where they're taking and fracturing the shell that's down underneath the ground. So they drill a hole straight down and then turn and go horizontal across. And you've got all this rock, the shell rock that has the oil in it. And there's a very small amount of oil that could come out of the rock as it is. So on a frac, they go down in there and they hydraulically fracture it, where they pump water down 10,000 pounds of pressure, crack open the rock, and then they set a plug. And then they do the next stage, and they set a pressure up, fracture the rock, set another plug, and just keep on going until they get all their plugs set. So that requires a lot of water. So we were hauling water in from water depots, and the water depots, they would have all these pipelines running to a place to get your water from, and generally the water was coming from the river or a lake, or sometimes it came from a pond. There was some ponds that they had, but we would haul that water in, and it would sometimes we'd run for 5 or 6 days with a lot of trucks. And I'm talking a lot of trucks. I don't even know how many trucks there were. And there would be waits on locations. I've seen where we had trucks stacked back to back, a mile or more long on a lease road going into a location. And they're just, the lease road is just a little bit wider than one truck, and you're getting 2 trucks. You got a truck sitting there, and then you got a truck coming out. And I've actually seen trucks that somebody was afraid of hitting the mirror, so they went about a foot over further, and they barrel rolled the truck off the embankment. Nobody got hurt, but it sure did hurt a truck. So that was the early days. Now they make the roads wider, so it's not as bad on that. Water truck driving is there's a lot of different things that you can do with a water truck. You can haul fresh water, you can haul dirty water, production water, flowback water. There's all kinds of different water that you can haul with the same truck. Now, fresh water is the least. It takes the least amount of skill to do it, because if you make a spill, it's not as big of a deal. It's fresh water hitting the ground. If you spill something that has oil or salt water in it, on the other hand, that's a whole different ball game. So a lot of guys will start out hauling fresh water, and there's companies that they do a lot of freshwater hauling, and it's a good entry level thing. You get used to how the truck works, and after 2 or 3 months of running on freshwater, then you can switch over and you can start working in doing service work and production work. And it depends on what you like to do. If like freshwater, it's sporadic. It comes and goes as the demand goes up and down. Production water is steady because the well is continually producing water. Well, some guys get bored, like me. I get bored just doing the exact same thing over and over and over and over again. And some guys thrive on that. That's what they love. They like that steadiness. I kind of like a variety. So, but you can get started doing the fresh water, and the pay. You can start out. I've seen guys start as high as $24 an hour, some $20 an hour. Nowadays, a lot of it is by the barrel, or you get a percentage. So depending on how much the truck makes, you get a percentage of that. So as far as the percentage rate goes, generally you'll make, as a driver, just starting out, you'll make anywhere from 20% of what the ticket is up to 30% of the ticket. 30% is fairly rare. And then there's a numbers game there too. So when I say a percentage, so the trucks I've seen as low as $90 an hour for that the truck gets, and as high as $145 an hour. Although I haven't seen $145 an hour in a long time. I do see $130 an hour. So you're working, and you get, say, if you get 20% of $90 an hour, that's $18 an hour. If you get 20% of $130 an hour, that's $26 an hour. So, and then some companies, what they do is they give you a percentage of what the truck gets, not what the oil company pays. So you have to be careful on that, because say if you get 30%, say a company says they're paying you 30%, which is the top pay, and it is kind of rare nowadays to get 30% of a whole. Well, perhaps it's not 30% of what the truck of what the company pays, the oil company pays. Rather, it's 30% of what the truck pays, which is actually 25.5%, which is still good money. Your top money here generally is no more than 27. So that's something that you have to consider whenever you're getting started. Of course, if you're getting started, your main thing is you need experience. You'll make decent enough money. It's nobody that comes out here goes broke. You can make money in this oil field. So the biggest thing is you need to get the experience in. And once somebody has been here for 6 months to 9 months, it's like they're old hands, because there's the way you work out here. And that sounds kind of crazy. And in some industries, you got to work 5 years before you're an old hand. But out here, you don't have to have that as much of experience. All right, guys, I got to go get a load, so you can come with me and see what Holland Water is all about. So every morning we kick the tires and light the fires. First thing you do is go around and hit all the tires, make sure I don't have any flats, and then check the oil, wipe the stick, make sure that I'm in the good. Unlike a car, so a car from there to there is 1 quart. Well, on a big truck, from there to there is 1 gallon. So you add oil to it if need be. And then we check the power steering fluid is here. And this is where we put in the oil. This is the Cummins ISX engine. And then on the other side, we've got the fluid cap that we check the radiator fluid level. And then also on the other side, we have the windshield washer fluid, which here in the oil field, you use a lot of windshield washer fluid, as roads are dusty and muddy. So here on this side, we have the radiator tank. This right here is the radiator tank. It's got a sight glass in here, and you can see that it's low right now. You're supposed to have liquid inside of there. The cap is on top. Open it up, pour in your fluid there, and then you check the tension on your belts. Make sure it's not real loose. If it's real loose, then you either got a bad belt or you got a bad tensioner. And then you got an alternator here, and you've got a air conditioner compressor there. And then right here is our windshield washer fluid. So our windshield washer fluid is right about there right now. So it's getting down there. So it'll hold about a gallon from right there. And then also you check the condition of your hoses for your turbo and the condition of your brake line hoses. Make sure that everything looks good. Look for any checks or cracks or anything like that. One thing I always check every morning, I shine a light underneath the engine and see if there's any drips. If there's any drips, then that's something that's new. So I'm checking it out. Now some trucks, they have drips, but mine doesn't. So I'm checking and make sure there's nothing new. Now one morning I came out and there was a puddle of radiator fluid. So that told me, I need to check and see what's going on with that. It was just a little leak. Okay, As we're continuing along in our inspection, we're looking to make sure there's no leaks. You listen with the ears, and you hear that hissing noise, and run it down to see what's going on. So you're looking for any cracks or anything on your hoses. Checking your tires, of course. Make sure you don't have. If I have big rocks in there, I'll pick the rocks out because I don't want to sling it and hit somebody. This right here is your slide for the fifth wheel. So sometimes it'll get snagged and get a cut in there. Big thing is this is your hydraulic hoses, and your hydraulic hoses will get hung up and they can drop down into the tire. And the same thing with your airline, so make sure that they're all in good shape. I wanted to point out this wet kit here. This wet kit is different than perhaps what you'd see on a farm truck. This is a very heavy duty setup. So here in the oil field, you run the pump a lot. I mean, sometimes you might run that pump for 10, 15 hours straight, non-stop. So that overwhelms the typical hydraulics of a normal little wet kit. A lot of times a farmer, he's running a little conveyor for a few minutes or just a cylinder for a few minutes, and they'll have just a little small cooler mounted up here. Well, as you can see, this is covered in mud, and we're not even in mud season yet. And that little cooler will just get coated, and then it overheats, and then you've got an expensive repair. Now, it costs about $5,000 to put a wet kit on, and this is the simplest setup where it's just a big tank, and just the volume of liquid keeps it cool. So you got I don't remember exactly how much this holds, but it holds a lot. So you fill that up with fluid, and then you can run all day, no problem. Also, when you mount this thing, this one, it was mounted. It was mounted right here, and when I would make a sharp turn, it would hit. Somebody didn't know what they were doing when they put this wet kit on, so we just redid it and slid it forward, and now you can see there's plenty of space here for spinning that trailer around. And we also have I like to double hang the hoses, so you've got it hung from this side, you've got it hung from the trailer side, so it's got room to pivot, so you can swivel that thing around with no problem and no fear of hanging up on anything. Yeah, I was talking before about experience and pay. One thing that everybody has a question on is housing. So where do you stay? How do you get housing? So out here in North Dakota, most places will provide housing. Not everybody does, but that is very, very important to have housing. So if I was a single guy coming out here, I'm not bringing my family out, then I want a truck with a sleeper, and I'll sleep in the truck. I'll make more money that way. So that's, and I did that for 3.5 years. I slept in the truck. So you would just run, and then whenever you get to the end of your day, you just shut down right there, and then when you wake up, you're right there on the job. You just keep right on rolling. So then if you don't have, say if you do have housing, say you've got your wife out or you've got family with you, then there's several different types of housing. You have FEMA trailers, which is what I currently live in. And it's a 12 by 34 2-bedroom FEMA trailer, and it's $600 a month, and it's paid for by my employer. So that doesn't cost me anything. And then you've got, they have, the company that I work for has like an efficiency apartment, which is just one big room. You've got a kitchenette, you got a bathroom, you've got a bed, you can put a couch in there, and usually they're all furnished, and it's $400 a month. And sometimes you have to pay that, sometimes the company will pay it. Depends on who you're working for. And then there's the man camp style where you just got a bunk, and you got to watch it on those. Some of those can be pretty bad, raw sewage running around, and so you got to be very, very careful if you're going to get into that situation. I would much rather stay in a truck than to stay into that. My personal. Some guys, no problem, they just adapt to it, but not for me. So, and then as far as the truck driving, so one thing that I do not like is day cabs. Is out here, things are unpredictable. There's, even if you're on something that you work 12 on, 12 off, it almost never is 12 on, 12 off. You'll be hooked up and you're sucking on something, and then it reaches the end of your shift, and yet you've still got to keep on going because you can't disconnect and cost the company $5,000 an hour while they bring out another truck. It's going to take 3 hours to get there. So in that case, you want a place to either lay down or at least stretch out a little bit. So like on a day cab, I'm a big guy. I don't have any room to wiggle. I don't even have a room for carrying my food and stuff. And then if I got to lay down and take a nap, there's no place to take a nap. You've got a division in between the seats, and I've done that before, and that is very, very miserable. So if I'm working a day shift job where I'm not just running all hours of the day and night, but I'm on a regular shift, then I want at least a truck that's got the little coffin sleeper. It's got the little small sleeper, just enough room to crawl into and stretch out if you need to, if you get caught. I mean, another thing out here is you have blizzards, and sometimes you get caught in a blizzard, and there you sit for however long until the roads clear out. And if you got a place to stretch out, life is a whole lot better than if you're in a day cab. Of course, if you're living in the truck, you don't want a coffin sleeper. You want a full-size sleeper, and you want a fridge and a microwave. Now, a lot of the companies don't provide a fridge and a microwave. You can buy the little Coleman coolers and stick those in there. And then I used lunchbox cookers whenever I was living in the truck. So I'd take a lunchbox cooker, and I had these little pans I'd put in there, and it just plugs into the cigarette lighter. And I'd put 1 cup of soup, 1 cup of rice, and half a cup of water instead of 1 cup of water because you already got water in the soup. And I close it up, and an hour or two later, I've got a hot meal, and I'm not having to stop and losing money to eat. So little things like that, carry sandwich meat and stuff like that, so you're prepared all the time. Or for me, Dr. Pepper's. Also, I want to tell you guys about my YouTube channel, Scrappy Acres Farm. So I live off grid in North Idaho, and so I've got some things on there. I've got how I brought in internet where they said their internet was impossible to get, so I made a internet bridge, solar powered, and then I've got a shop that I built for $300, a 16 by 16 shop that I've got details on. So let's go over and check it out. Well, guys, so that's it for me. Well, hope you found this information useful, and don't be afraid to try it. This is something that you can really dig yourself out of the hole. When I first came out here, everybody was losing their houses, losing their cars, you name it. They were in bad shape when they came out here. I remember one guy came out, and he had just enough money to get here, and he lost his job before he even got here. They hired somebody else, and he stayed on the sidewalk in a pup tent, and a blizzard hit his first day. But he made it, and then a year later, he'd made $100,000, and he'd paid everything back up, and he brought himself out. So don't be afraid to step out there and give it a try. You just got to come out and see.
How y'all doing? This is JPTV3000. I'm here with
Jeff.
Jeff, appreciate that, man. Thank you for your time. Oh, COVID, man. No, yeah, man, no physical contact. I didn't think about that. But
we're contaminated now.
Yeah, it's too late. It's going around everywhere. Today we're talking about three things: the oil field, the COVID, the coronavirus, and looking to the future from here on. So, Jeff, what's the oil field industry looking like right now?
Well, it's struggling right now because you've got the problem with the Saudis and the Russians that are having their war, and they're after the frack industry. They're trying to shut us down out here in North Dakota. So that's a problem that we've got going. And then combine that with the COVID, where you've got your supply or your demand has just dropped through the floor. Yeah. So there's not very much demand. So all those jets aren't flying and cars aren't moving. So then that drops demand. Your law of supply and demand. When supply is high, demand's low, price is low, and that's what we're happening is because you've got the Saudis and the Russians are flooding the market, so the supply is high, and we're still pumping, so supply is high, and then our demand has dropped through the floor.
Yeah.
So right now we're looking at I think today is $24 an hour, $24 a barrel for West Texas Intermediate.
But it can't last. That's
well, everything will balance out in time.
Yeah.
But right now we're going through a period where it's going to be pretty rough for a little while.
Yeah.
So with the, we've been through this 2015. It did this, and then in the past it's done this. Where it's gone down. And one thing we always say out here in the oil field is, well, you get the money while it's here because it'll go away.
Exactly. That's why I'm always saying save. I've purchased a few things, but I've never went out and just made a big purchase of a truck or anything crazy like that, because I was always looking at, okay, if the bottom falls out, you need a good $10,000 or $20,000, if it takes 6 months to a year. You've heard about Continental and EOG.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard about all these companies laying people off, slowing down, Halliburton furloughing employees, which is just like the same thing. It's just a softer way to lay people off, but that's it. It's part of the industry,
right? Yeah, that's really true, because I know that whenever I first came out here, I remember there was a kid that he was making. I think he was making $11,000, $12,000 a month, and he had this pickup truck that he and his dad had completely restored the truck from ground up, and it was brand new, and we all built it all the way from the ground up. But it was an older truck, and he wanted him a brand new diesel truck, so he was going to go and buy him a diesel truck. So I took him aside and said, "Hey, look here now. I've been around this for a while. Even though I was just starting here, I have worked oil field in the past. Actually worked on the rigs, so I knew the cycle of how things happen. I told him, says, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I said, save your money. If you want that diesel rig, save your money and pay cash for the diesel rig, or buy one that whenever the oil field takes a little downturn.
Wait till somebody, like right now.
Like right now, this is a good time to buy a diesel rig if you want to buy one.
Dude, you just said that, and for all the people that are out there working in the oil field, that's pretty much what I'm looking at. Okay, depending on how long this lasts. If it ends, tomorrow or Friday, but if it lasts for a good little while, people are going to be trying to liquidate stuff that they don't need.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to be trying to get rid of trucks, boats, and anything else, especially if people start getting into that fearing and what do you call that panic?
The panic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm pretty sure, or at least I think it's going to turn around, but other people may just be worrying too much,
right? Because
there's only so much you can do anyway,
right?
And
well, the kid I was talking about, so there was about a 4-year period there that the oil field was doing really well.
Yeah.
And I saw him, I guess it was about a year later, and he's still driving his very nice little S10 pickup that he had that was restored. And he wasn't driving a fancy Dodge diesel pickup like he was talking about buying. So he came up to me, he told me, thank you. He said, I really appreciate that talk you gave with me, because he said, I started saving my money. He said, then I got hurt on the rig. He said, I was off work for 6 months. I didn't have any income for 6 months. He said, if I'd had a note, I'd just lost everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I've seen time and time again, is people come out here and they something happens. It could be something personal happens, like that, where we are in a dangerous work thing. Things can happen.
Yeah.
We have good safety protocols since I've been out here. This time I've been here since.
And it's a lot better
5
now.
months, 4 months.
Yeah, and it's a lot better now than it was.
It's a lot better now than what it was before. Before it was
a free
the wild.
It
was the Wild West.
It was the Wild West.
But now it's not so bad, and freak things can still happen no matter what.
Yeah.
And we deal with high pressure and mechanical things break, high pressure things. Somebody open a valve at the wrong time, something can happen. You know,
or somebody forget to put something on a piece of equipment, and the same thing is always on the piece of equipment, but for some odd reason somebody left it off. In situations like that, people don't always think to, hey, why isn't there a valve up there? Because there's always a valve there all the time. But you know, that's part of the industry. And Jeff, what are you seeing in the job market in the oil field?
Well, right now we're going through a downturn. So what I think is going to happen here is that as it tightens up, so let's talk about the way a oilfield services company works. So I drive a truck. So driving a truck, how does that work? So you have a company that has a contract with the major oil company, whatever major oil company, Continental or
Oasis,
or Oasis, XTO, whichever company has. So they've got the contract with the major oil company, and then usually they will own some trucks that they personally own, and those trucks are running. And then they will also have trucks that are leased on to them. So owner operators that they lease on to the company. So what happens in this time period that we're in right now is that the market contracts. So they'll stop doing flowbacks, things that or they'll slow down on it. Not necessarily stop, but they're going to slow down. They're going to start pinching pennies a little bit.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Cutting the budget, kind of trimming the fat.
They're going to trim back. They're not going to just go blow and go. They're just going to trim back some. So as they trim back, there's less demand for trucks. So then which trucks don't run? Well,
the trucks that are costing you the most are the ones that are going to run.
So one thing is that the oil companies will usually do is they're going to be really watching their P's and Q's, and whenever they see a ticket, they're going to look at it and say, is that really what? Did it really?
Let me start looking at it.
And so they're going to.
How many barrels did he say? How long it took him to get?
So sometimes guys get complacent. They'll start charging a little more because they can get away with it, or hauling a little less, but saying that they're hauling more.
That's what did him. Who was that? Powerfield? Which one of them was it that was doing that? That's what did them in.
I don't remember if it was Power Fuel.
They were in Wofford City. I know that much.
Yeah.
Dude, is MBI still a company?
MBI's out.
Dude, I couldn't believe that. But you know what? They reap what they sow, bro. They screwed me when I first came up here. I was like, okay, all right, I see how it is.
Yeah.
It must be here. But go ahead. Finish saying what you're saying.
So anyway, so it starts contracting. So you have where they're trimming the fat, and they're making sure that they're getting what they're paying for, and they're really watching on that. And then they might start negotiating where they'll say, okay, we want all the services, our costs reduced by 25%. Well, we've already been through some of those cuts, and there's not 25% left to cut. But there may be, instead of it being $130 an hour, then maybe they charge $120 an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then your oilfield services company, the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to start prioritizing the work coming in to make sure that the trucks that they own are fully booked.
Because it makes sense. You can't be mad at anybody for doing that.
So they're going to make sure that those trucks are running first. And then it kind of goes according to pecking order on the leaser trucks as to which one the leaser trucks running. Yeah. And if you hadn't been on your toes, if you've been too picky, if you're just a prima donna, so no, I'm not going to do that or whatever.
Okay.
Then you might just be sitting and not have any work at all, and you might go out of business.
And this is just the way the industry is, man.
So this is the way that they operate on that. So that's a natural progression. Now, another thing that might happen is that, okay, so there'll be less service work that'll take place, because that's one of the cuts I make. Your production, generally, until they start shutting wells in, which they can do that for a period of time too. But until they start shutting wells in, then they're going to minimize their service work.
And wells would tend to be like a percentage. They'll shut in a percentage of wells.
Right. Yeah, they won't shut it down.
Yeah. But like all the work that they have to get done, for example, what's going on here, that's already set to be done this year anyway.
Right.
So they got to already get that done and out of the way.
There's a possibility that they can make some cuts even on what they were set to do, because what's happening, like right now, it's costing them for every barrel of oil. It's costing them money. So it's like, how far can you? It's kind of like playing chicken. How far can you go before you turn off?
Exactly.
And that's basically what's happening in the oil industry. Is they're playing chicken with Saudi Arabia and Russia, and everybody's seeing who's going to blink first.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Now that we've talked about that, hold on just a minute. And we are back. What were you about to say, Jeff?
Okay, so one thing I was thinking about is that, so when we go through this slowdown, so this is a typical slowdown. So it goes through a slowdown, and you start sitting more. You start having gaps.
Yeah.
So that really plays mind games with most of the guys out here. Most of the guys out here, our women out here, are away from home, and they've got family back home. And when you sit for 5 days, that just drives you completely insane. So what will happen, and it's happened before, it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is that, okay, so you've got, say there's 1,000 trucks, and all of a sudden there's only enough work for 800 trucks. So then each truck gets more or less depending on what's going on. I mean, some of it is just pure luck, but
the work's got to be spread out.
But the work has to be spread out. So then you're going to have some guys that says, you can forget this, I'm not doing this, and they're going to get mad because the company truck is running and they're not running, or maybe another leaser is running and
somebody else did 5 loads and they did 2 loads.
That's right.
Yeah.
So then you're going to have people leaving and going home. Well, as they go home, then that creates more work. So then your workload goes up. So there'll be a kind of an expansion contraction as it contracts down. And then it goes down to where, I mean, you might get to the point where you're only working 6 hours a day.
I've been there.
And it's just, but it tends to be kind of steady.
Yeah.
Where you're just working 6 hours a day, every day. Well, out here, you're still making good money.
Exactly.
So you're at that 6 hours a day, you're making more than what you would at 8 or 10 hours a day back home.
Exactly.
So you just ride that out. Just hang on and ride it out.
Did y'all hear what Jeff just said? Because I've been through it myself, and it just ride it out, and like you said, the market always comes.
So then what happens then is when the market comes back, then who has the seniority then? It's the guy that's voted out because you've got all these people that went home.
Yeah.
I worked at a company that we went through some of that before, and in 3 years' time, I went to the senior driver. I was the one that had been there the longest of anybody.
Yeah.
So then that meant that I got the best work, pretty much, of anybody.
And you got the newer, nicer truck, and all of that stuff goes along with it.
All the little perks that you get with that. Yeah. So that's what happens when you go through this. And this, but it's in the head.
Yeah.
I used to train truck drivers. That's what I tell them. It's in the head. It's you got to manage your thoughts, because you get your thoughts out and then you're out of here, and then you're sitting at home with low pay.
Yeah. And so one of the things you said earlier, that there's 2 things I know when it comes to trucking. You can't let truck drivers sit, because when truck drivers get time, they start looking somewhere else. And I've been a truck driver for many years, and you start getting time, you start, what are they paying over here? Yep. I mean, it's just it is what it is. And just like you were saying earlier about that guy not purchasing that expensive truck,
right?
That money allowed him to keep going until things got better.
Right. Yeah. He just got a 6-month vacation.
Yeah.
And he had money.
Yeah.
So he wasn't hurting.
Yeah.
And he still had a place to live. He still had food to eat. He could go hang out with friends if he wanted to whenever they're off work.
And I've taken 6 months vacation. They are awesome.
Yeah.
Just in case y'all are wondering.
And then another thing is, so you bring that up about the vacations. So this is the ideal time to take vacations. So like we've been really, really busy, and I was about to take some time off, go back home, fix up my place. Well, then as soon as this oil thing started hitting and the coronavirus started hitting, and I knew how that would affect it. So I canceled all vacations. Okay, I'm staying, because right now, today, I am still very, very busy.
Yeah.
I'm still making the full amount as what I've always made.
And we are too.
So I'm going to keep on while that's going. And then as this thing slows down, then I'm going to get into the maybe sitting for a few days. Well, when it gets to that point, I've got money in the bank. I'm going to run home. I'll do my thing. When I come back, I haven't lost that much.
Yeah.
So that's the time to take a vacation. I see guys, they get real rigid of well, I work this day and I'm off this day. Well, you got to be a little more flexible than that. And then take it whenever it's not cost you that much. So that's one thing I look at.
And Jeff, since we talked about the oil field, I've also got to get your personal opinion on the coronavirus. What do you think? And just take it and go. Okay,
well, the coronavirus, of course, that's affected us out here because of the travel restrictions.
Yeah.
So if those jets take a whole lot of fuel to fly. The boats take a lot of fuel to go across the ocean. So anytime there's any restriction on travel, that affects us.
Yeah.
And then so that drops the price of oil. So that affects us from that. The other thing that we have an issue with out here is that, like right now, the Canadian border, when you cross the Canadian border, you got a 14-day quarantine. And so if you go into Canada, now me as an American, I can't go into Canada right now because I don't have any business in Canada.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of people from Canada that work here.
Yeah.
So they have legitimate business and they can cross the border, no problem. They can still cross the border. But when they cross the border, either way, they've got a 14-day quarantine. So whenever they go home to Canada, they've got a quarantine for 14 days before they can work in Canada. If they turn around and they come right back across the border after that 14-day quarantine, then they have a 14-day quarantine on this side of the border before they can do any work. So that's 28 days.
What are they doing as far as state to state goes? Minnesota said that they're shutting down their state. So does that mean Williston no longer flies to Minnesota? Or
well, they're restricting travel, but I haven't seen anything yet where they're actually stopping the flights coming in and out, and they're not stopping the interstate travel.
Okay.
There's talk of them doing that. I haven't actually seen them do that. Like Idaho just went on a 21-day lockdown, but it's not you can still drive around.
Okay.
I could still go to Idaho if I wanted to, but they're closing all non-essential businesses in Idaho.
Okay, non-essential.
So you can still go to the grocery store and pharmacy and things like that. So one thing that's affecting us here now is that so if you're on a crew that has Canadian people, for one, and you want to work more time, this is the time that you make the money.
Yeah.
Because whenever they go home and can't come back, well, that's a hole right there. Somebody's got to fill it. So there's some guys here that's exactly what they're doing. They're working, instead of working 28 days on, 14 days off, they're just working straight. They're not taking the 14 days off. And so they're making more money. Now we're in a slowdown. So at some point they're going to be sitting. So whenever they get to that sitting point, then they go home and they can sit at home.
Well, Jeff, hopefully, man, we'll get a chance to make some more videos, but it's starting to get dark and I can see it even more.
Yeah.
So this is JPTV3000 here with
Jeff.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Thank you for your time, and y'all stay tuned for some more videos, and hopefully it'll be more daylight next time.
Sounds good.
All right. Hey, y'all, we're back here again. Jeff, so what were you saying about the coronavirus, trucking, and
okay, so one way it's affecting us out here is life is not quite so cushy as it has been. The truck stops. So for people that live in their truck, they depend on the truck stop for the showers and for doing the laundry and for socialization.
Yeah.
They'll go and sit inside the truck stop and talk.
Yeah.
So right now the truck stops have shut all three of those down. You can't go in and sit down. You can't use the showers, and you can't use the washing machines. So
Even the van hook.
van hooks down too. Yep.
So
You can walk in there, but you can go to the bathroom, but that's all. So that's a major hit for guys that are living out of their truck. Now it's not affecting me because I actually have a trailer that I'm living in, mobile, or like a travel trailer that is provided by the company I work for, and it has a washing machine and all that, so no problem. But if you're living in the truck, then that's a lot more difficult. And then another thing is that, so when you're driving a truck, home cooked meals is a rarity. So you got to fix your meal. I used to use a lunchbox cooker and cook my meals in a lunchbox cooker, but here the last little while we've started getting spoiled because as the oil field develops, there's more available. So one thing is the disposals. They all have that's food.
The NGL, man. The NG. It's not called NGL anymore.
Hawkeye.
Okay.
So the Hawkeye, and sometimes on Sundays they'll fix you a steak. They'll fry you up a steak.
You didn't even have to buy food when you came out to work.
There's actually guys that work out here that do not buy any food. They if they have a production route where they're in that disposal, every single day, multiple times a day, that's all they eat is the food at the disposal serve, and the food is free.
Yeah.
So like the Hawkeye, they've got 5 crock pots, and they got a microwave, and they got a cold food case, and they've got a grill, and they're set up like a restaurant. You go in there and you have your they've got certain times for breakfast, for lunch, and for supper. So you time your loads, so you get in there during those times, and you got your 3 meals a day.
Because you got the Hawkeye. The White Owl tends to have like the pizzas and the others.
Now the White Owl has like pizza. They've got they're the only ones I know that have a drink machine, so a soft drink machine.
I haven't been there in a while.
And then
talking about the White Owl.
Yeah, it used to be the RCD, but because I worked there actually several years ago when it was the RCD, I was a disposal operator.
Okay, because you got them,
and then there's the Doll, which is so the Doll and the Hawkeye are next to each other. The Doll is owned by Goodnight Midstream.
That's it. Goodnight Midstream. They got that one and the one about Tobacco Gardens.
Right, and then Hawkeye is owned by B&N.
Okay.
B&N Tallgrass, I think.
Okay.
They just went through a change, so I'm not sure if it's still operating under B&N or they just got bought out.
Okay, and you got Secure.
And you have Secure. So like the Hawkeye, they're the mother lode when it comes to food. You got really nice meals there.
That's where you notice all the truck drivers.
Yeah. Also, it's got the best place to offload of anybody in the whole region. Yeah. They've got a concrete drain with a sump, and you can open up, and sometimes you get a little something stuck in your valve, and something will spray out. Well, no problem there. Yeah. If you had another disposal, then that's a problem.
Exactly. It
hits the ground, and none of it is supposed to hit the ground. But there, it's very spill friendly. So I like going there just from that standpoint because I get home cooked meals. I don't have to have a home cooked meal.
Exactly. And the food's pretty good, man.
Yeah.
The food's pretty good.
Food's really good. But so one thing that's happened now is that all the cooked foods is gone. You can't get cooked foods at any of your disposals.
Yeah.
And so like the Goodnight Midstream ones, you're not allowed to go inside their office at all. So they've got a coffee can that's wired to the frame of the steps where you go up, and it's got a slit in the top of it, and you just stuff your receipt in there, and that's your only contact is just that. But they do have an ice chest there, and you can open up the ice chest, and it's got like some chips and bottled water and stuff like that, but just a very, very small selection.
Yeah.
Hawkeye, you go in there, and they've got You can still go inside. You can still sit down. They got a TV if you want to watch TV. They don't serve anything hot, but they serve packaged food. So
That's fine.
which, because everybody is now eating that packaged foods, that's hit or miss is where you
Yeah,
get eat.
yeah.
But they've got like chicken sandwiches that you can microwave.
Yeah,
Or
them chicken
sandwiches.
sandwiches are not bad.
They're
bro.
pretty good. They got all the soft drinks. They've got bottled or like little things of juice,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then they've got like Reese's candy bars and Pop Tarts and stuff like that that you can get from there.
I got you. That's one thing I miss about hauling water. You know, that's an adventure by itself. Going out to the wells that you have to go to if you're doing a production route. Like this, doing service work. Service work, you know, you go pull some water and then you go sit for a few hours.
Right.
And you might pull another load an hour later, or you might not.
And
you can get paid good money.
Yeah, what we're doing now with service work, I may go several days and not go into that disposal. And then sometimes I might be in there in and out all night long. So, but I do mostly service work, and I've been able to put on extra 10 pounds. So I am going to get to that disposal quite often.
Because I was the same way. Like I kept going to the NGL. Finally, they made everybody stop going to the NGL because they wanted us to split it up between the NGL. What you said the Hawkeye now? Between the Hawkeye and White Owl.
Yeah.
But everybody kept going to the NGL.
Yeah.
And so we would slam the NGL, and then the NGL water levels would be high, and then they have to start doing one truck at a time.
Yeah.
But still, nobody wanted to go to the White Owl because you can go to the NGL and it has good food.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, fine. Nobody else goes to the NGL. You go to the White Owl only. Nobody goes to the NGL. But
used to the White Owl, when it was RCD and I was working there, it was the only disposal in this area.
Yeah.
So it was the only ones. So all the truck traffic went there. And back then, we were cutting edge because we were serving donuts and nobody else was serving anything. So,
well, I don't know.
It's a really awful coffee.
This guy told me, he said before that disposal was there was 500 acres of land for sale for $30,000.
Yeah.
And that's where that disposal is, all the way back to where the Capitol pad is up on the hill. That's pretty much the distance from that road back that far, 500 acres.
Wow.
But man.
Now, you couldn't buy it for that now.
No. You may pay 500 million or something. But wait a minute. Yeah, because they're right outside the reservation.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. You got any, as far as the future and here on, you got any other ideas or things that you're seeing in the oil field industry or in?
Well, we're gonna compact down. There's gonna be people drop off, and then we'll kind of reach a plateau, and then there'll be a bunch of companies that'll go out of business. So the businesses that are leveraged really high on debt, they're the ones that's going to go out. Yeah. So,
but NBI is done.
NBI is done. They're closing the doors on March the 15th. So, I don't know if anybody is still running for them, but I think March 15th is the final.
And you know what? We're coming up on spring. What's the name of the Richard Brothers will be having their spring auction. So if nobody else buys them, more than likely that equipment's going to be there. Okay.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm wanting to go home and get my trailer and bring it back, because this is we're about to enter a buyer's market where there's going to be a lot more stuff for sale, because the guys that are living here, they're accumulating things and accumulating things and accumulating things. They've been here for several years, and well, it's all good. They got all these toys, and then when it comes time to go home, and they rent that U-Haul, and they've got the U-Haul packed out, and it's like, what do I leave behind?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I can't find anybody else to shuttle that extra pickup truck that I've got, or I can't find anybody well, I don't think I can even make the note on this UTV that I've got here, you know. So
all the people that bought four-wheelers and motorcycles and a truck to work on because they wanted something to do in their spare time, that's why we're always talking about saving your money, being smart, being patient, because it pays off in the long run. And I've got to say that I've been blessed to be patient, save my money, even when coworkers are making fun of me about being cheap. And like, hey, I'm in a position that I'm in because I've made good positive choices, and I hope y'all out there are doing the exact same thing. And Jeff, you're doing the same thing because you've already seen other people crash and burn.
Yeah, when I came out this time, so I came out in October, and we're in what month? March. So we're in March. So my first focus when I came out is wipe out all debt.
Yeah.
So I took all my paychecks and just wiped out the credit cards. They're gone, and I had some hospital bills. They're gone. I paid everything off, and then I wanted to get set up with my own LLC for the future. For now too, but for the future,
you can always do other stuff if you want.
And that costs money to get set up. So that cost me $4,000 actually to go through all of that. I could have done it much cheaper if I did it myself. But when you're working, you pay somebody to do it or you do it yourself. Exactly. But when you're working like crazy, you don't have time to do it yourself. Exactly. So you pay somebody. So I paid somebody to set all that up. So I paid for all that. So I got all that. I got myself in a good position. Also, I bought $3,000 worth of clothes. It's expensive whenever you I wear a size 16 boot.
That ain't cheap.
And they're $170 for a pair of bogs that I wear, and I've already worn out 2 pairs since I've been here, and then a set of Red Wings. That's $250, $240.
Dude, that's why I stick with the Walmart $60, $70 boots. They're not waterproof, but they're extremely comfortable. Just I have to stay away from mud.
I would be doing the same thing if I could wear them. Yeah. But Walmart doesn't sell them in size 16. Yeah. And I wear 16B too, so it's skinny. So
okay.
The Red Wings is the only one I can get that actually fits. The bogs don't fit. They're too wide. So then they end up breaking. That's the reason why I've gone through 2 pairs.
Okay.
They're too wide, so then they fold, and then they end up breaking there. If they actually fit my foot, then they would last.
Aren't those mucks?
No, they look like mucks, but they're bogs.
Okay.
So they're just like mucks.
Yeah.
So mucks is an excellent boot. It's cheaper than the bogs. Most guys buy one pair a year, and it lasts a year. But that's provided you got a normal size foot, which I don't have.
I got you.
So I know that it's going to cost me more for that, but it's cost to do a business. So
and plus FRs, you have to have FRs to come out here on location.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm a fan of the coveralls, because the coveralls you're covered with it. You just need your boots and your hard hat.
Yeah,
and
you can. When I first started out here, I started with coveralls, and it was $75 for a set of coveralls. I bought 2 pair of $150, and then I got going. And then as you get going, it's nice to be able to, like this shirt is FR, but when it's blazing hot, it's nice to be able to be just in a shirt and a pair of blue jeans. And so whenever it's if it's above 0, then I'm just wearing blue jeans with some thermals underneath. If it goes below 0, then I put on insulated coveralls.
And since you said that a good place to buy discounted FRs is the Salvation Army store in Williston, and you can also sometimes find them at the Wise Penny in Williston.
And the Salvation Army in Minot.
I have not been there. I keep forgetting about that every time I go to Minot.
Yeah, I bought I got a jacket like this with a hood, and it had tags on it, which I had to take off, but I paid $30 for that coat, and that coat was $300. It cost brand new.
Because
there's like 4 or 5 thrift stores in Minot, and I found them. There's that one, and there's a Boys Ranch thrift store or something like that in Minot. Boys Ranch,
okay.
like for troubled kids.
Okay.
And I can't remember what the exact name of it, but it's a Boys Ranch. But they carry they have them a lot of times, and then
and also eBay.
This coat here came off of eBay, and I think $50 maybe.
Or,
It's a $300 coat.
yeah, or sometimes if you are working on a location, ask the guys, hey, y'all got any FRs y'all don't want anymore? Because once they get so bad, usually people don't want them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a FR jacket, and it's still gonna keep the elements out. Because I bought a brand new Halliburton FR jacket,
Mm-hmm.
and it was $50 off of eBay. But this thing was brand new with the tags on it, and I really wanted that Halliburton jacket, and I wore it twice. It's in my house.
One thing that happens, see this?
Yeah.
So this happens. I've been wearing this coat since October, and without somebody doing some seaming up on it,
it's gonna eventually come off.
Yeah, it's gonna come off.
But that's just part of it.
Yeah.
It's just like some of these come off on these coveralls, but I mean, after you've washed it, dried it, wore it, rigged up, rigged down in it, lifted iron in it, and done all of that stuff, in and out the truck, carrying hoses back and forth, rain, sleet, snow.
Well, for example, one of my jackets. So I had for 3.5 years. So that was 3 winters. I went through 2 jackets in 3 winters, and they were worn completely out.
Yeah.
But I was working 140 hours a week, so you got to think of kind of like how many hours are you putting on your engine in your car.
Exactly.
Well, it's the same thing when you're clothes. If you're in those clothes for 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're going to wear those clothes out a whole lot faster than somebody that's working 8 hours a day, working 40 hours a week.
Yep.
You're working 3.5 times as much as what they are. So that's something you got to think about too.
And thank y'all for tuning into this conversation. I'm trying to think, what else have we?
Oh, we were talking about the coronavirus.
Yeah.
So where does it go from here?
Yeah.
Well,
where does the oil field go? Where does the? Have you did you get a chance to see the stores in Walmart?
Oh yeah.
Dude, because somebody was first somebody was talking about the toilet paper, and because I think it there was none in there, but I just it just didn't register in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I kept hearing people talking about it, I went in there and looked, and there is no toilet paper in here.
One thing with when you're talking about the stores, so what people are seeing across the country in the stores, we have seen that periodically here.
Yeah.
Because so we're in a place where everybody has money.
Yeah.
Either
somewhat or some kind.
Yeah, some more than others, but there's a lot of money here.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of time because everybody's working.
Yeah.
So what will happen is that a wave of people will go into Walmart and they'll just clean Walmart out, and it's nothing to do with the news. It's just the ebb and flow.
Yeah.
So they're just going in and clean it out, and you're walking through. I saw somebody post a video one time like, "Oh, this is the apocalypse. Look, we have food shortages." Oh no, it wasn't. There was no shortage. It's just they walked in right after the store got hit. Yeah. And nothing to do with the news. It was just the way it is out here. But now we are seeing some where they stock the shelves and then it's getting wiped out within 2 hours.
Because the 2 days before our hit started and I went into Walmart, I went in there and I looked. Then I went to Cashwise. Then I went to Albertsons and I'm like, doggone it. Then later that day, I went back to Walmart and they had some soup. I'm like, that's all I wanted. I just wanted some soup.
Well, out here, I don't necessarily take days off.
Yeah.
If there's work, even if it's just a little work, I'll just keep on going. Yeah. So you got the oil field exemption where you can work more than you can like if you're driving an over-road truck. Because like right now, you're not always working. Yeah, you're available, but you're not necessarily getting after driving down the road like a trucker is. That's going over the road. He's 10 hours behind that wheel. Well, we're not typically 10 hours behind the wheel.
I've done that 10 hours. That ain't fun. Man.
No,
that is not fun.
I get sleepy about it.
Yeah, because I could do 10 hours, but I couldn't do I couldn't do 10 hours consecutive. Like I've done it.
Yeah.
If I was just really intended, I wanted to get from Dallas and I wanted to get into the state of Kentucky or northern Kentucky or something like that. And I really wanted to get there, yeah. But usually it was drive 5, stop for 30, 45 minutes, just to stretch, walk around, check the truck, and then do my other 5, get to where I'm going to shut down for the night, and then repeat the next day.
Yeah.
Well,
here you're in and out.
Yeah.
You might sit for a little while, and then you might run for a little while, and then you sit for a little while.
Yeah.
So it's not the same.
Yeah. It's up and down. It's up and down.
But we're talking about the grocery stores though being wiped out. So we're seeing that now. Toilet paper is hard to get. Now for me, I got lucky because because of the way we work, I don't ever know when I'm getting a day off.
Yeah.
Rig goes down, shuts down for whatever reason, and then I get a day or 2 off.
Yeah.
So whenever I get that day or 2 off, then I'll get out of the oil patch and I'll go somewhere, and
It'll be normal.
Yeah, it's semi-normal. And while I'm out of the insanity of the oil patch, then I'll go buy groceries, and I'll buy groceries for a month or 2 months because I don't know when the next time I'm gonna go buy groceries.
Exactly.
So I'll go buy groceries. So right before this coronavirus thing, the panic hit, I got a day off. So I went to the grocery store and with my wife, and we're buying, like a month and a half worth of groceries just because it's what we do. Yeah. And then I thought, I think I'm going to take some time off and I'm going to go home. And I will go home for 2 weeks, and I don't want to go run to the grocery store while I'm home.
Exactly.
So I think I'll just go ahead and these groceries she's buying is for here. I think I'll just go ahead and buy groceries for home too. Yeah. So that I don't have to run to the store. And I was thinking about, well, my place has been closed up, so we're probably going to have to do a bunch of cleaning. So I'm just going to go ahead and buy paper towels and cleaning supplies and all that. So I did. I had a buggy shopping cart just slammed full of what I was going to take to Idaho with me.
Is that the guy I saw you at Walmart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I bought all this stuff, and then 2 days later, you couldn't buy it no more. And I was like, woo!
Oh, man.
I had 24 rolls of toilet paper.
Man, dude, you see people selling this stuff on the internet, like, are you for real?
Yeah.
Like selling rolls of toilet paper.
I saw somebody selling a roll of toilet paper for $100, and you get a miter saw with it for free.
Yeah, because even the car dealerships were getting in come in and buy you a car today. We'll give you a roll of toilet paper. What is the world is going down. The world is going down. But Jeff, we're going to have to wrap.
I was going to say though where we're going on this coronavirus thing. So it's a virus. It'll taper off. And as it tapers off, people start moving again. They start moving. The demand goes up. The supply will go down. The price of oil will go up. Maybe next year we might have another round of this coronavirus because that's kind of the nature of viruses.
Yeah, it's kind of like a flu. So it's probably going to come back.
It's kind of like the flu. So it comes back around again. We'll go through the same thing again. The demand will go down. The supply will go up, the price will go down on oil, so we'll go through a dip again. Yep. But you plan for that.
Exactly.
You plan for it, and then you're in a better position. And one of the secrets to guys that make money is that they buy when everybody's selling,
exactly,
and they sell when everybody's buying.
Exactly.
So right now we're entering a time when everybody's selling, so that's when we want to be buying. And then whenever it turns back around, that's when we want to be selling.
So, Jeff, what do you got going on with Scrappy Acres?
Well, I got a whole bunch of videos that I haven't edited because it takes time. So probably whenever we go through the downtime, then I'll do that. I'll go through and edit those videos and post them. I'm not real good on that type of stuff, so it takes me time. So I think I've got video. I got a shop I built for $300, a 16 by 16 shop with 9 foot tall walls, and so I've got all of the footage of that. And then I've got I participate in open source ecology, which is we build the machines used to build a civilization. So like tractors,
Okay.
3D printers, brick press for making bricks, and so there's about 50 different tools that we've got on our list, and we've been going through those and building them. So I've got me a 3D printer. It's a D3D Pro model printer that I'm going to put that together, which I am not real good on the technological part.
Dude, you fixed up the Wi-Fi thing, bro. So yeah, you have the skills to do that.
I can figure it out. It's just I'm not zipping through it like maybe somebody that's their thing.
Hey, bro, if we were all younger, we would all be zipping through it.
Oh, that's true.
You know, so.
But I'm gonna build that, and I'll film that as I put that together.
Okay.
So that'll be kind of neat to see. It's a pretty capable.
And your YouTube channel's name is
Scrappy Acres.
Scrappy Acres Farm.
Yep, Scrappy Acres Farm. Yep.
And y'all can tune in for more of his videos. Y'all will see the picture of it right here. If I can get a picture of it on my phone. And want to tell y'all, thank y'all, appreciate that, and we'll try and keep y'all up to date with more videos and information. And this is Jeff, and I'm Jerry or JP. And see y'all next time. And you want to give any shouts out to anybody, Jeff?
I will say hello to my wife. I know she's my biggest fan. So.
Well, with that being said,
my kids. Say hello to my kiddos if they tune into it.
And all the guys and people that we work with.
Oh yeah.
Be safe.
Donnie.
Donnie. Jeff, the other Jeff, Shaq, Matt, all the guys that I work with, Blue Crew, Red Crew, Green Crew. You guys are awesome. See y'all on our off days, and make sure you check your equipment. Double check yourself. You know, make sure you use double isolation where you need it, and make sure you open, close, open, all valves. And always check your pressures and your temps of your equipment. That's about all that I could really think of right now. So we'll see y'all next time. Until then, it's JP and
Jeff
signing off.
All right.